everybody. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to be with you today. This is season 3 of Midlife Crisis to a Centered Life Thriving. Oh yeah. Yep. And yeah, my website still learntoloveyourstory.com, not the same as this title. Maybe eventually I'll get that all changed. Who knows? But I am so excited to be with you here today. It's been a minute, and well, we're just going to dive into it. We're going to dive into it today. You're going to hear a little bit about why it's been a minute, why I wasn't at the very beginning of the year able to jump right on and get started with you all, because I really wish I would have been able to. And I'm happy I didn't. And you'll hear all of that in just a minute. So, why don't we just jump in right here? I don't need to leave you with any cliffhanger, right? Like that was enough of a cliffhanger. So let's get started. I'm not going to do as much editing this year either. You will notice. So, yeah, here we go.
Welcome. This is Midlife Crisis to a Centered Life Thriving, a podcast that teaches women in midlife to unapologetically stop silencing their dreams and start designing the lives they want to live in. I'm your host, Dr. Natalie, and as a clinical psychologist of the last 2 decades and a twice divorced single mother myself, I not only know how hard it can feel heading into midlife, I am living it right here with you. I've taken all the many failed attempts and lessons learned in my own life and combine it with my extensive clinical experience to give you the tools you need to make midlife the best time in your life. No joke. So let's get started.
Oh, welcome back. Okay. So I don't know. I think I logged off on new episodes somewhere before the holidays. So it might have been in late October, it might have been November. I don't remember. I really don't remember. So I know that you've been valiantly listening, because I still see that it's getting downloaded. I have about like 100 original followers, maybe more than that now. I can't remember when I look at I don't look at my statistics very often. But there's at least a good 40 to 80 of you that download week to week. And all you've been hearing since season 2 is just reruns of season 1 and season 2. Because I have every single weekend or Monday morning, or sometimes on a Tuesday morning, if I've really gotten late, I've posted. Remember, this is a one-woman show. LearnToLoveYourStory.com is the website. And if ever you want to look at my courses or anything like that, you can hop over there. And there's usually links. Well, I know there is because I put it out there. There's links in this podcast in the notes, so you can always go there. I haven't been doing anything with any of it, with my coaching business, any of it, because there's been a lot happening in my life as of late. And, at the end of the season last year, I was thinking, oh, I have this idea. I'm going to start writing my book in 2025. Yeah, I've been talking about that for a minute. I realize I've been talking about that a minute. So I was like, I'm going to start writing my book. And maybe, the format for the book is going to be inspired a little bit by going through my mom's old journals. I think I read an excerpt from a journal towards the end of the season. Anyway, all that is out the window. Let's just be real. Midlife is rough. And we talk about it on here all the time, but I have hit some skids in the midlife transition here for myself. And that's really dictated things. In fact, I did have all sorts of intentions of getting started on January 1 or close to January 1. And I literally did not have a voice from about January 1st. Maybe it was December 31st. I think it started actually on New Year's Eve until middle of January. Legit, like the first week and a half, it felt like I was screaming for anything to come out at all. I had to cancel it was the worst. Ladies and gentlemen, it was the worst. So, that was part of why that didn't happen. And I think it was just kind of a cosmic universal way of saying, Natalie, really? You're going to start the podcast back up because you're doing so super duper well. So let's start. Let's start with a couple things. One thing is this is going to be a new format. Okay. So happy birthday to me. I'm so excited to be starting my 50th year around this planet. So I turn 49 today, February 27th, when this gets posted. Probably shouldn't put that out into the universe. Who the hell cares? You can find out anything, anywhere, anytime, it feels like now. And so now you know a lot about me because you know my date of birth. But it is my birthday. Happy birthday to me. I'm posting this today because my new format for the podcast will be that I'm going to drop new episodes in season 3 whenever I freaking feel like it, right? Not going to be regular, not going to be the same time every week. That being said, the same time every week, I will make sure there's always something posted. Okay. So I have over 100 episodes, which is just bonkers. Over 100 episodes, not to mention hundreds of other videos and other things. If you go to my YouTube, oh my gosh, it's like I have tons of stuff. I do have tons of stuff. So I am not at a loss for having material to post to you. And here's what I know to be true, because I've done this kind of work with people in counseling and coaching forever and ever and ever, teaching. One time to hear something is not when we learn it. 2 times, probably not. 3 times, maybe it's starting to resonate. Somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 7 to 10 times, if we've had that repetition, it might start to adhere. And of course, we have to really want it and be consolidating that and then starting to employ it for it to take effect in our life, which could take several more times. That's how humans work. I know that's how humans work. You guys, I think over 20 interviews in the podcast. No, it has to be more than that. Over 25, 30. I think at least close to a third of the episodes that I've done are interview episodes. So it's not just the stuff that I'm teaching you, it was stuff that I brought to you. And I mean, those folks, oh, look at me on YouTube. You'll see me. I'm playing around with the strings in my cowl neck because they decided to pop out. Haha. And all of that is going to be on the episode because I'm not editing. That's another part of my new format. I spent way too much time, but I'll get to that. So anyway, I have so much material for you, and you have so much to learn by listening to those episodes over. So probably Sunday night, maybe Monday morning, somewhere in there, the regular drop time will always be a rerun. It's always going to just be me going back into the stores, putting something out there. And I just do it randomly. And I might put the same thing out 2 or 3 times, right? Because again, you don't learn it the first time or the second time or even the third time. So maybe if you're a regular listener, you've heard that one before, but you should listen to it again. I promise you'll glean something else from it. I always gleaned something else from it, even if I was listening to my own videos, which is odd, right? I mean, stuff's just coming out, and when you're listening to it, it's different. And depending on what I'm just saying, you're going to learn. So the new format is season 3 episodes will come when Natalie is ready to put them out there. That's my thing, because midlife sucks. It's hard. It's work. I'm making it work, but I have a lot of things going on, and this is a hobby, and it's something that I love doing, and I love being part of the change in the universe. I like to put things out there that can be a part of the change. So I want to touch people who are living it just like me. That's what my whole intro is about. I want to touch you because I know what this feels like. I know what it feels like to be in the muck of it all. And I want you to know you're not alone. I know there's a whole host of women in midlife who are freaking out and figuring it out and doing their best because that's what we do. And you might feel like you're the only one. You might feel pretty isolated. And so if the one thing that you listen to is this podcast, thank you for being one of those 100 or so followers. Thank you for downloading. I want to give you what you need, and I want to pop in on here and share with you what that's like for me. So the new format really will be a lot about what my fancy is. I probably something will have inspired me in my own midlife journey. We'll talk a little today about some things that have been inspiring me in my own midlife journey. And then I'll teach a little bit about what I know to be true around that, or what I've researched, or what I've looked at, or I'll point you in directions for what to do next. There will be a lot of talking head in season 3. I might invite some folks on to be interviewed or to be with me on the podcast. For now, this is how it's going to start, and that's what's going to work for me. Other thing that's different, I used to make sure I was all done up. My cowl neck had a little string hanging out of it. I haven't. I put some lip gloss on before this started, but I haven't set up any of my lights. Like, this is going to be the worst. Today it's actually a bright day out, and so my room is pretty lit up. But if I feel like doing this at midnight, I'll do it at midnight, because you and I both know that sometimes that's when we're awake. Actually, it'll probably be like the witching hour, like 3 a.m. Although I do have a 10-year-old roommate, my daughter, that might not appreciate if I was just talking in the middle of the night. So maybe that won't happen. But I will do these whenever I feel like doing these. I will try to do them in front of the microphone. I used to, if ever you downloaded any of my courses, you'll see that I walk and talk. I'd just get on my phone, and I would, do a little teaching as I was thinking about it, as I was walking outside. But the acoustics are terrible for that. So I will try to sit down right in front of you and do this. I will try to keep trying to post it to YouTube as well, because it's a different audience than the traditional podcast downloads like Apple Podcast and Spotify and all the things, right? So this is the new format, right? It's just going to come when I feel like it. We might go a few weeks and I might not do anything. We might go a week and I'll do a couple things that I drop. Some of these episodes might be really short and brief and just about a thought that I had. And some of these episodes, like today, will be a little bit longer, more of my traditional format. But that's the new way that Midlife Crisis to a Centered Life Thriving and Dr. Natalie are going to operate. And it's because one of the patterns that I'm trying to break in my midlife that has not served me through all of my adult life, but is rigidly firm in the way that I operate, is I overwork and I make everything a huge production. And once it's in that category, it becomes a thing I have to do, not a thing I want to do. And I didn't have a voice. I didn't have a voice at the beginning of January. I am never without something to say, my friends, as you know, and I had no voice. And if you don't think that's a cosmic nod to, girl, get your stuff together, I don't know what it was. Clearly, I was sick, but the voice not coming back for that period of time, I get laryngitis. I get it about once a year. That was crazy. It was crazy. And it was a good, shake me and let me know that I was doing too much. I was trying too hard. So the production of this just won't look the same, and sometimes won't look good at all. And I might just pop on here, no makeup, nothing, just myself, because I want to get it done and I want to get it out there, and I'm not going to edit it other than to put in the intro and the outro, because it's important to me that this is the Midlife Crisis to a Centered Life Thriving podcast. It's important to me that you have the resources that I put at the end. Other than that, this will just be Dr. Natalie, the talking head. So, all right. So that's our new format. Here's something that I've been pondering for a hot minute. Menopause, right? Like, no surprise, we've talked about it on the episodes. Why do we call it that? I mean, I get it. Like, it's very medically oriented. And I don't know if you know much about the mental health world, but the mental health world always feels like the redheaded stepchild in medical health. we're all put in together, right? Like, the medical model is what we're going to follow. Sick care, not health care, unfortunately, is what we're going to follow. So let's just throw mental health in there too. And we only fix people if they're really crushed and down and so awful that it's hard for them to speak, much less get out and go see a therapist. But yeah, we're gonna throw all that together. So we're like, what? This doesn't work with anything that we're traditionally taught about how to help people be emotionally well and functioning in the world. And yet, this is how it's set up. And menopause is a medical term about when our menses stops. Too much men in all of that. Can we just be real? Just too much MEN in all of those words. But anyway, these are the terms. You know what I'm talking about. Menopause is when we stop having periods, right? Like the whole diagnosis doesn't happen until a year after the last period you've ever had, and then you're in menopause. What in the actual F is that about? All the things that happen prior to that in perimenopause happen sometimes over the course of a decade, where a whole cascade of nonsense is happening in our freaking bodies. But we won't even diagnose it until a year after, when it all stabilizes, the period's gone, then you're in menopause. And pause, meaning pauses the menses. But what in the world? I've clearly I have issues with this term. And I've been thinking about it, and I am big on empowering us, and I am big on pulling us back into our own, like owning this, right? Let's take back these words. Let's take back these words. Let's make them our words. Let's make them make sense to us. So season 3 is going to be about the Menno Start force, the Menno Start process in our life, the Menno Start, whatever you want to put behind that. But it is not a pause. It is a beginning. It is something that does take effort, and all sorts of things are going to be happening to us that you and I have been talking about for a couple years now, and will continue to talk about. And I will continue to give you the information that I can so that you can best educate yourself. But we are starting, my friends. We are not ending. We are not pausing. Our life is not done. Our life is just beginning. And because I know that there are these 3 major times in a woman's neurological development, so the brain, we'll go back to me being a psychologist, where they have the most significant changes. And it's all around these hormonal endocrine changes within our physiology. And it's the preparation into being childbearing, and then it's the preparation out of the childbearing. And so there's like childhood years, there's childbearing years, and then there is post-childbearing years in our neurology. And the 2 times that changes the most significantly and rapidly and crazily is obviously adolescence. I've got a pre-tween. She says she's a tween. Is 10 tween? I don't know. You can put that in the comments. If you have young kids, you can educate me, because she thinks she's a tween. But anyway, my 10-year-old in the other room, she is in her menstruating phase as she gets all these hormones and these secondary symptoms and the moodiness and oh God, I mean, she and I are gonna, it's gonna be good times up in this house. It has been good times. It will continue to be good times. She's going through a lot, right? And she's gonna be going through a lot for about 10 years, right? Like, it isn't like this happens, then she has her period, and it's like, it's going to be great. No, that's not how any of this works. It's just not how any of this works. So she's in that phase, and I know her neurology is just like at warp speed, trying to become its next thing. So between childhood and childbearing, one of the major things that's happening in your neurology, not the only thing, not the most major thing, but one of the major things, because there's several, is that we are learning to orient from attachment to the family, to the caregiver, into attachment into our social group, right? So what do adolescents do? They individuate from their parents and from their family. It's like, you suck. I don't want to be around you. You guys embarrass me. I don't want to be here. And my friends are the most important thing in my whole life, right? Go on YouTube and look at any of these influencers or trying to be influencers in that age group, and who is their audience? They are their audience, right? They're not talking to their parents, and they probably never talk about their parents. They're not talking really about their families, probably ever, right? Who are they talking to, and who are they talking about? Themselves and the people that are like themselves, that look and action and function like themselves. So that's where she's at as she's coming into the next phase with her neurology going blah, 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 blah. The first time, of course, neurology goes blah, 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 is just like infancy into childhood. There's a lot happening, right? I think a lot was happening at that time as well. We're not going to get into that. But I squarely in perimenopause because thank you very much. I still have a period. No freaking schedule on when those will show up or what kind of hormonal shifts I'm going to have. Whew, good times. But I am squarely in the next phase that our neurology is changing and where we go from this place where we're relating to the others in our life. We may have, it's not even just our social friend groups, but our family that we made with a partner and our kids and the extensions and communities that are around that. Or if we were just an adult that decided not to have kids, it's your work life, it's your, whatever you do for fun, what you do in your faith communities, those are your concentric circles of social. That's what you're relating most to. And that's what you've spent few decades being very into and serving and probably serving above you, as we've spoken on this podcast before. So you're going to move from that's the most important relation in my little perimenopausal to menopausal journey and then to post childbearing years into what I think is the time when our neurology is learning to find us. Think about that. We're reorienting to me. We're learning who am I and how do I relate to this person? And what is she all about? And what's happening here? And when we aren't doing that, when we aren't reorienting to ourselves or journeying into that, we are the most at friction. Right? So why is one of the major things I talk about the fact that you're probably over caring for others and over, the programming and conditioning of our world has got you over worried about what others think of you and what you need to do for others and your service to others and your caretaking of others than it is about you. Why do I harp on that? Because I know that on the other side of this, we need to know where we are in space with all of that. It never means you won't relate to other people. And here's why. We are literally wired to belong with other people. We're wired to belong with our environments. Like you cannot survive without taking another breath. And that breath is bringing in air that is commingling other with you all the time, all the time. You cannot survive without eating at some point. You can fast. You can drink water and fast, but you will eventually put nutrition in your body. And that literally becomes the cells that live inside you. Like we are literally wired not to be a single thing separate from other things, but to be integrated with everything all the time. And we've stayed focused on the others in that, the other stuff in that, especially within our social groups, all in that childbearing years phase. Makes total sense. We were childbearing years, right? Like, so our biology wants us to be oriented to taking care of the other things that are in our life. And even if you didn't have kids, your biology is oriented to take care of the other things in your life, right? Like there's part of you in that menstrual, childbearing phase of your life that is always oriented at caretaking. There was nothing wrong with that. What has gone a little wrong is when that gets overdone and you're not taking care of you. And so why I harp on this is because neurologically, this is the time where you have a relationship to you and we need to get you there. Any way that I can hammer that home, I'm going to hammer that home. And especially in season 3. So relationship to ourselves. I'm looking at my notes. We are going to Menno Start by starting this real internal journey with who am I? Who is Natalie? Who is she? And starting to get to know her. And things like my focus on self-awareness in my first course, my focus even on self-compassion in my second course, those are really meant to help you in that journey, to give you tools to do that, and to do it well and to do it the way that you need to. So let me tell you a little bit about what's been happening in my life. And it started actually at the end of season 2 for the podcast. I come from, as I've shared on the podcast, I come from a using family. So I had an alcoholic father, but you can imagine that within that context, there are other people who have struggled with chemical use in their life. Close proximity to me, people that I've even chosen to bring into my life. So people I'm not related to, but I've chosen to bring into my life because that's what my body knows. That's what my psyche knows. That's what my interpersonal style knows, is to take care of those kind of folks. Well, somebody I love so much relapsed this past year and really dove fast and furious this past summer and nearly died, not once, multiple times, and in a short period of time. And it was so devastating for me, so devastating that this happened, that I love this person, that I wanted to help this person. And here's the other part of that narrative. I am one of the people, not the only person, but one of the people in this person's life that, like, I'm their person when this stuff happens and they need me to pick them up and prop them up and do those things. And I legit couldn't do it. Like, I wanted to do it. I was at war with myself. My body, my perimenopausal body did not have the hormonal stress capacity to do this. Now, it married up, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at this, with me taking a new full-time W-2 position. And hello, haven't worked for the man, haven't worked for anybody in so long. That was its own adjustment, but it was an opportunity that presented itself that I couldn't say no to. It's been a great, glorious journey. Lots of work, lots of adjustment in my life, but that's a major stress, a positive stress that came in my life. Well, this really negative stress came into my life, and I had to, for the very first time, take a back seat in this person's journey, getting cared for. They clearly couldn't care for themselves. Like, it's that kind of a relapse, right? I mean, they almost died multiple times. Oh my gosh, it was so scary. It was so scary. So in this context, I've had to lean into some of these other caretakers I know that person had, people I love and I'm very close to, and be honest with myself and with them that I will not be able to help. I will not be able to help. I won't be able to not help, right? So, like, it's not that extreme. But the version of me and how I caretake that person is going to be so different. Like, I can be there and I can be supportive and I can be loving, but I can't be in charge of anything related to this because it nearly, like, just dropped me for like weeks on end. Like, something would happen, like one of the one of the times they almost passed. And then I would, like, for 2 weeks, not be able to do anything but the things I had to do, because Natalie has a very strong pattern of, I will get up and I'll work and I'll make sure that the kid is fed and I'll make sure that they're doing their things. And, so all the things that had to be done were done. And then all other moments of my life were a form of escape of one form or another, usually in the form of hiding out in my house, not interacting with anybody, just watching television, reading, avoiding. Like, let's be honest. That's what my nervous system needed. I had no bandwidth for any of it. But it was almost like, so here's where self-awareness is so amazing. Can I talk about the observer self for just a second? She is amazing. And if you get into a practice of mindfulness or meditation and don't roll your eyes at it, but look at the science of it and understand the science of it, and also understand, like, all I'm asking is like 1 or 2 minutes of your day every day until it goes up to about 4 or 5, until it goes up to about 8 or 10, until it might cap at about 20 minutes a day when you're really into it. And by that, if you're doing 20 minutes a day, it's because you love to do it. It's because you love to do it. It's not because you have to do it. It's because you actually, like, have felt the benefits of it. But one of the major benefits of it is it gives you this version of you who non-judgmentally, compassionately can just take a look at what you're doing and say, oh, you're doing that pattern again. See, Natalie, you're laying on the couch all day. See, when friends are calling, you're not answering the phone. I notice that you're eating out a lot. Like you can't even do, you can make sure you're fed, but you can't make sure to make healthy meals. And I know that's like not good for you because you also have this health condition that is another big whammy that I went through. Oh, and got diagnosed in the summer, late summer. Let's say September, whatever. So anyway, like all of this layered upon layered, but the observer self is so amazing because she'll just say, this is what's happening. She's not mad about it. She's not that hypercritical inner mean girl, right? Inner mean girl is watching for something very specific, you to mess up. That's it. That's her job. She will find that. She will dig that out no matter what, and then she will dig into you, right? She beats the living crap out of you, right? I know her too. She was there. She's been here the whole time. But observer self is just like, oh, we're doing the thing again. Remember that thing that we're trying to change in our life. And so the beauty of having now a handful of years of a mindfulness practice, meditation practice that I do daily. I just do now because I feel better when I do it and I feel worse when I don't do it. And I know this is the thing that people say about these self-care things, right? Like when they exercise or when they eat well. I know you've heard this phrase, but it's so real. It's so real. She was able to help me navigate, like, I am doing some old patterns that I thought, like, I know them. I've therapized myself on them. And I've created some really good patterns not to do them. So how is it possible? And then it was like, oh, because like, obviously when we're too underwater, then we go back to the oldies but goodies that are not really goodies, right? We go to the old patterns that are so ingrained, are the very first things that the scaffolding is on that we learn to do that are probably not always serving us. And that was one of the things I was doing. So thus the reason like I started to post a lot more reruns, and then I decided to take some time off, and I thought, well, by the beginning of the year I'll be good. I was not. So that's a context that's happening in my life. That person is doing better and on a journey. But if you know anybody that's gone through relapse, 6 months in is not a lot of time. Right. And I can't even say in that 6 months, there's been total sobriety during that time. But there has been recovery. And I am somebody who sees it that way. Not like the last time you take a drink is when you started your recovery process. But when you made your decision that I want to help myself is when you started your recovery process, and you may have drank a little, or you might have used a little, or whatever it is that you do. So that's some background. And I might have said this in the fall. I don't know. Anyway, I've been having all sorts of symptoms in menopause that are health related. But one of them was really gastrointestinal, and I've had gastrointestinal issues all of my life. But this one was like over the last 3 years was wicked, and it would like sap me physically. Like I'd get so weak. And, I am my breadwinner, and I'm the only, parent in the household with my kiddo, and she's little, and that's kind of scary. Like really, it is kind of scary. And I had people tell me that multiple times over the last few years. And finally, an episode happened and I got super weak, and lots of things happened, and it was really awful. And somebody I love dearly just said, really, you're not going to go in. You're not going to go in and have that checked out. Also a part of my pattern. And so observer me was like, Natalie, you know how you do that self-neglect thing where everybody else's stuff is more important than yours? It's possible you're doing that here. Also possible you're avoiding it because you don't want to hear something in midlife that is like irreversible, or scary or whatever. And so kind of all those things. So I went in, I had a series of tests, and ultimately I am suffering from fatty liver disease that is caused by nutrition, how you eat, and how your body is not metabolizing and efficiently using energy. So, everything kind of comes back down to your mitochondria, which are the little energy centers in your cells, are not working properly in all parts of your body, but your liver it is trying to save your butt when it's not doing that well by packing that fat onto the liver really fast when you have excess in your body, or your body is not processing the energy that it's taking in. correctly. And so here I am with a diagnosis that essentially is the diagnosis that my father died from. Now, his was caused by what? It's called cirrhosis by the time it got to his, but his was caused by alcohol. Not the issue for me, but doesn't matter. Kind of the precursor to that journey, and I needed to get really serious about my health. So all of these things happened at the same time. I've been working really hard, and I got to be honest. Um, Man, it's a slog, right? Because it's 3 steps forward, 5 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Like on any given day, I might be a little ahead, I might be a little behind. In the beginning of this year, when I got sick and then I lost my voice, and then like I've lost a lot of traction on that, and a lot of old programming has come up for me, like, you suck, and how can you not do this, and you were on it and now you're not on it. And so I've been wanting to start the podcast up again, because I get a lot of joy from this. Once I start it and I'm in it, then I'm like, yes. But I have all these things going on in my life, and just the regular stuff going on in my life. And last week in particular was exceptionally miserable. Exceptionally miserable. So I had every intention of recording this for my birthday episode that I wanted to come out with week ago, 2 weeks ago. It's literally the day before this is going to post, ladies and gentlemen. So friends, here we are. Like, this is the new format. I'm done. I can't do planning at this stage and have this be something that's fun and I will enjoy and I will stick with. So we're going to do the new format that you heard about. And I'm going to use my own life and my own menopausal and perimenopausal and midlife journey as my inspiration. And we're going to talk through these things. And like, what do you do when you're in this place? One of the things you need to do, you've got to take care of yourself first. And it's so hard. It's just so against every fiber of my being to tell somebody who nearly died multiple times, you're not as important as I need to take care of my health. Like, I need to go talk to my nutritionist, and I might need to go for a walk today. Like, that feels so gross. To be honest, it just feels gross. And if I don't do that, there won't be a me to take care of somebody at some point. That's the reality. And I am taking care of somebody. I'm taking care of me. And I gotta build this relationship with her. And I gotta better understand her. And I need to understand why her patterns show up when they show up. I need to better listen when her body tells her, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. This can't be happening any longer. And follow through with that, no matter how uncomfortable breaking that pattern feels to me. I've got to do it, and you've got to do it. The Menno Start is that now in this phase of my life, that's what it'll look like. But I promise you that my person that I love so dearly that's going through this recovery, I'm visiting them weekly. I'm talking to them regularly. When I have a chance to pick something up, or, take them to an appointment, or do something that's, helping the other caretakers that I've deferred to do what they're doing for this person, and that lets this person stay in their recovery, I do that. Right? And when I can't, I don't. That's different. And sometimes I mess it up, and I overdo, and I get home and I'm resentful, and all sorts of common feelings come up I just self-betrayed all day long. All day long, I self-betrayed. I went out of my way to go do this thing for that person. I, spent too much time on emails for work, and to what avail? Like, it's not doing it. And I am at cost with all of that. So I know that I have to start to listen to that internal wisdom. And I want you to start to listen to that internal wisdom. So wherever you are on this journey, if you have no observer self, have never thought to yourself, mindfulness, what? Like, how is that helpful? Then start with course 1 in my self-awareness. If what it is the inner mean girl is the only one that shows up to narrate your life and tell you what a schmuck you are and how you've messed up everything, then maybe course 2 in self-compassion is something that you need to do. If you see the patterns, know the patterns, still do the patterns, and can't seem to interrupt the patterns, then course 3. on bucking that system is for you, right? Like you need to break that. If you're starting to do all that, but you're just like, do you remember that meme? There's a meme. I think it was a tweet meme, but it's like this lady, short hair, glasses on, and she's like, she looks, probably 30s. I mean, she doesn't look like midlife, but she's like bent over. She's looking up. Like, it's like, whoa. You go ahead, and like there's all these great memes with that picture of like, yeah, you just keep going out there. I'm gonna catch my breath over here. That's how midlife feels, right? That's how midlife feels. And if that's where you are, you're doing these other things. You've listened to my podcast for 2 years. You've got some of that under control. Maybe you've even downloaded, done some of the courses that I have. Self-care might be the place for season 3 for you to focus on. Like, what is self-care? Because I do the first 3 courses on purpose before self-care as a 4th course on purpose, because I know that I need to rock your world as to what self-care is. Self-care is not chocolate, bathtubs. It's also not exercise, nutrition. Self-care, it doesn't matter what the things are. Self-care is you have a relationship with yourself, you know her, you listen to her, and her internal wisdom says, I don't want to be in my life right now. You want to know why I just watched 5 hours of Dateline? Because I don't want to be here in this life. I just want to like be entertained by that life. That's why I vegged out on Netflix. That's why I am not picking up the phone when my friends are calling. Then you need to have a different definition of self-care. That is, what are the things that I do that make me want to stay in my life? And one of the major categories in that are boundaries, my friend. And those are the things that I have been interrupting in the last few months, and that you might need a little help with. Sometimes it isn't an extra thing you add, but a thing you take out. And it's painful and it feels weird and gross. Like, oh yeah, you almost died a couple times this summer, but I gotta go to yoga. Like, that feels gross, doesn't it? Just saying it out loud, like in a sentence, is like gross. But I promise you, in my life, if I don't do that, there's none of me anywhere to do any of the glorious things I want to do. In fact, I was MIA for a minute, off midlife crisis to a centered life thriving, for that reason alone. So I've gotten back to a better balance, and I think I can be on here with you guys a few times a week. No, I'm just kidding. I think I can be on at least once or twice a month for sure. And I'll keep the old episodes going, because you really should keep watching those old episodes. And here's something that I'm going to ask you to do this year, right? So like I said at the beginning, there's like 100 of you or so that are like my regular followers. If I look at statistics, I don't even, how do they even figure that stuff out? I don't know. Data analytics is it's like a black box. Like, stuff goes in and something comes out, and I have no idea. The mathematics of that. However, there's about 100 of you. Thank you, by the way. You are amazing for continuing to spur me on and make me feel like, okay, I'm making a difference. I'm making a change in the world because somebody wants to hear this stuff. Great. And about 80 of you per episode are downloading it. Great. Awesome. Here's what I want you to do. And I'm going to ask you this every single time I pop on in season 3. Each episode, you are going to go to that episode and you're going to like it. Why? Because that's what the bots want. They want to know what's liked in this world, right? Please, please tell me that you do not doom scroll or go through Instagram for a little laugh for about 20 minutes, or TikTok, or I went off and came back on. I have no idea where we are. Whatever you do, don't tell me that you're not on social media saying like to things. Shut up. Shut the front door. Like, I'm on to you. I know that you're doing this. I do this. Everybody does this. This is just the world right now. So please go wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to me. Please go and like every single episode. Like it if you don't like it. And here's why. Because it is not about you, my friend. Not always. Sometimes it is about somebody needs to hear this. And all I had to do was say like. Well, gall darn. Like, seriously, all I had to do was say like. And all of a sudden, the bots are like, well, maybe more people in that your demographic need to hear Dr. Natalie talk. And they do. More of us need to know that we're not alone out here. That's really all it is. It's not me. It's not about me. This is about like more of us need to feel not alone in this god dang journey because it is tough. And sometimes the only lifeline that people have is a podcast. So you're going to do this every single time. You're going to go and you're going to like my episode. Even if you didn't like it, you're going to like it. If you didn't like it and give me a comment that tells me what you didn't like about it. And I'll do a different one, something that you do like. I promise. Like just comment, let me know. Cause that's another way that the bots love the talking and the chatter. So like, comment. This is what you're going to do every single time this year. Season 3 is your year. Come on, ladies. We can do this. Come on, gentlemen. We can do this. And you guys, there's ladies and gentlemen. This is more ladies, clearly. But there are men that watch this. Thank you. Like, because the women in your life need this information. They need this information. So you're going to like, you're going to comment, and you're going to share. Every single episode you're going to share. I don't care if you share it with one person in a text. I don't care if you blast it on social media and say, this loser, she tells me every single week that I need to send this out here into the ethos. I don't care. I don't care how you do it. I just need you to do it. And I need you to do it because I need you to appeal to the parts of you that are still a caretaker. And no, that's all it took. You don't need to make a meal on a meal train for your neighbor who just is post-surgery. You do not need to say yes to every committee at your kid's school. You do not need to take on another project at work. Those are boundaries, my friends, and those are things you can set. And we will continue to talk about them. What you need to do is like, comment, and send one person this episode. It takes a couple seconds, not a big deal, and could make a huge difference. Because if one person feels like they're not alone, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And you'll never know. You'll never know. Maybe you will. Maybe if you text it, you'll know. Your friend will go, who is this bitch? What is she talking about? Oh my God, she's such a whiner about her own life. Fine. I don't care. But the bots like it, and somebody else that needs to see this might eventually see this. And that's important. And you can be part of that, right? So that's what you're going to do. And I'm going to ask you every single time, because I don't want any of you out there thinking you're alone in this. Menopause, perimenopause, midlife, these M words, they're going to be the death of us if we don't figure it out. And as our stress resilience goes down, we need it. We need to have each other. We need that connection. So I want everybody out there to know you are not alone. In your Menno Start process, you are not alone. We're all in this together.
Because I am a licensed clinical psychologist in the state of Minnesota, I have to make sure at the end of each of these episodes that I give you the disclaimer that none of the material that I talk about in these podcasts is meant to replace kind of therapy or formal medical or mental health treatment. And in fact, anything that I offer on my website, my coaching programs, any kind of psychoeducational materials that I release are not a replacement for that level of care. So just take that into account when you listen. This is information for you, and hopefully you find it of value, both as an educational tool and for your entertainment. And I also want to mention that if anyone you know is in a mental health crisis, needs additional help, I always include these two crisis resources. They're available to anybody. Pick up the phone and dial 988 for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And you can always visit their website at suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Additionally, there's actually a crisis text line. So if you're not somebody that likes to pick up the phone, text HOME, home, to 741-741 to the crisis text line. And you can find them online at crisistextline.org. Thank you for listening to my podcast. And I hope that you like and follow me wherever you get your podcasts, and maybe consider leaving me a review. It always helps me to keep this podcast relevant when I know what you want to hear about.